we're going to be breaking down 3 different viewer games today. We're going to start from a beginner game, we're going to go to an intermediate game, and then we're going to go to an experienced game, okay? This is exciting. I'm excited. We haven't done a viewer VOD review in like a while. We're not going to be breaking down the entire game for most of them. We're going to be breaking down like specific rounds and stuff, but hopefully we can get some beginner tips, like intermediate tips and like experience tips. And hopefully most players can benefit from these things, right? That's what I'm thinking. I'm especially excited to talk about the beginner tips though, just because I think that it's very rough, and it's one of these things where you ever watch a beginner player and you're like, you are going to struggle a lot if you don't fix just some like basic things, like just some basic things that you just need to focus on, and we'll help you improve. So I'm excited to get into that. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel down below, by the way. We do a ton of stuff like this. We also break down like pro games and everything. And sometimes we do like gameplay things. And we're also streaming live on Twitch right now. So if you wanted to watch us on Twitch and catch out any of these awesome people right now talking in chat, feel free to do so there. But let's get into it. I'm gonna boot up one of these games. If you guys do want to submit, by the way, these replays, feel free to do so. We have a link for it in the description of like all of our YouTube channels if you're looking for like a replay review or something. Generally, when I look for these things, I look for players who are they're looking for improvement. So sometimes people submit clips of them like just fragging out, and I'm like, that's awesome, like you're a good player and everything. Like it was a good clip and everything, but that's not specifically what we look for a lot of the times on this channel. A lot of the times we focus on like just the improvement and everything. This is gonna be from a silver player, right? He seems relatively new to the game, and you know, I just wanted to say, while I'm introducing this, hello everyone, and welcome to Matchmaking Academy, the show where you are the star for all the wrong reasons. But don't worry, my name is King, and I'm going to help you figure out what those reasons are so we can fix them. Our hero today, his name is Pro. He's going to be like a silver 2 player and everything, you know. Just cut him some slack, you know. He's like a silver 2 player, you know. We don't want to make fun of these guys. He's just looking to improve, you know. He's just looking to be good at the game. And oh my god, what a noob! King, stop trying to be the copy of Warhala's intros. I'm only doing it because I respect the guy a lot, okay? I love him. I'm paying my homage to him, okay? Everyone's like, hey, these videos remind me of Warhala. You know, I thought I'd trickle it in just a little bit, okay? No, we're going to be rolling into this game. This is our silver 2 player. This is like the whole round. That was a 10-second clip, and you might be thinking, well, King, that was 10 seconds. What are we going to get out of it? We're going to get a lot of information out of this round, okay? So just stick with me as we go through it. We're gonna start from the beginning, because generally when you read a story, you start from like the beginning and you like go to the end. You never like start the story and like read from like the end to the beginning. And let me just tell you, dude, this round tells a lot of stories, okay? So we're gonna get into it. So the first thing that I noticed that is kind of detrimental in this situation is he's gonna be walking right in here, right, onto this site, and notice how he has all of his abilities right now. Now, if you're playing Viper, for example, Viper, we just uploaded the video today. It's actually like a controller guide. The controllers are like really awesome characters for blocking off sight lines for your team to make sure that when you enter the site, you don't have to expose yourself to all sorts of different situations. And look where he's standing right now at this point in time. He's exposed to this little corner over here. He's exposed to the site. He's exposed to this corner right here. If somebody's playing towards hookah, he's exposed to that. If somebody's playing elbow. And notice his crosshair placement again, right? There's a little bit of a mess the way that he's entering right here. If there's one thing that I want him to take away from this video, it's that your character, he has abilities. You should probably use them before you enter the site, right? So if you're gonna take this, and you could drop this wall like right here, for example. Not a perfect wall. I don't play a ton of Viper, but say if you use this wall right here in this situation and you have your little phantom, you're like trying to enter in. You can use this wall and you can block off this entire half of the site over here, right? So now when you enter, you could just check this corner. You already checked this area. Nobody's right there, right? You can check this corner right here and you can kind of make your way right in. Not exactly the best way to enter the site, but it'll help at least a little bit, right? At least you're using your utility in this situation to help yourself get onto the site. It'll help you at least a little bit. The other thing I wanted to comment about is the way that he entered in here. He didn't actually check anything. He kind of just walked right in, and he was aiming like down here. And like if somebody's chilling in this corner, which is a common spot that silvers will play, a lot of people like to hide in these corners and everything, he easily gets taken out right there. Somebody's playing right here, could easily take him out. You know, somebody's playing elbow over here, they would have easily had the jump on him. Like this would have been very unfortunate. He does manage to walk his way in here all the way into elbow, which honestly is impressive. That's impressive that he made it that far without using any utility and just kind of booking it in here. But he does end up running in here, and he makes his way over into elbow. And now we'll follow the story along as it goes, okay? Gonna make his way into elbow. I want to go back here and really emphasize his crosshair placement right now. Notice where he's aiming. He's aiming at the ground. No enemy is gonna come out of this position, right? He has to like transition between these targets and stuff. But like even if he was, where his crosshair is right there, if somebody peeked him right here, he'd have to adjust. He'd have to swing his crosshair way up. He's not clearing at head level, which is generally what you want to do. Generally, you want to keep your crosshair around head level where an enemy would be or like would appear, right? So if I'm aiming right here, if somebody peeks me right there, I don't need to move my mouse. That person is just going to appear right here. And this is a really good beginner tip that I would give to most people. If you are brand new to this game, just focus on keeping your crosshair around head level and just clearing angles like this. You know, you want to clear the angle. You think that somebody's going to be there. You can put your crosshair like right there, and you can kind of adjust and use your movement to your advantage and everything, right? So when I'm clearing the site, start out like right here. Maybe when you're coming around this corner, we'll focus on this, right? First location somebody's going to be right here, right? And the next location, like right there, when you clear that, and you can come in here. You know nobody's there. You probably want to clear out this corner before you do this too. See that, make sure that nobody's there. Now you come around here, you're gonna clear this angle. Now you come around here, you notice that nobody's there, and you want to clear this angle. That's generally how you'll clear something like this, right? Now as he comes in here, and he's gonna come engage this guy in elbow. This one's really bad, and this isn't gonna come to a surprise to most people, right? When you come into this area, this fight looks like he's lagging a little bit there too. That probably doesn't help him and everything, but like for the most part, the biggest thing I would comment on in this engagement is that moving and shooting is like one of the worst things that you can do in this game. I said before, if there's one thing that he takes away from this video, or if there's one thing that players take away from this video, it's to use your utility before you enter the site. Actually, I think if there's one thing to take away from this video is that when you engage people like this, don't move and shoot. You know, notice where all my bullets go when I'm shooting. Look at where the tracers go. It's so hard to be accurate in this situation. Whereas if he peeked this corner and he saw this person, rather than like running around and trying to like spray this guy down, trying to like evade his shots or whatever, dude, just peek him. Give him a little tappy, you know? Like, you could tap him in the head. You could do that. You can come around the corner. You could even spray. You could practice your spray patterns on walls. This is a good thing to do. You could like get all your bullets generally in the same place. I don't have a perfect spray, but it's all right. You know, like you just practice these things. Oh my gosh, you will see so much improvement. You will see so much improvement from where he's at right now. I guarantee he dies more frequently from these mistakes, these subtle things that we've commented on, than like anything else, right? If he improves these things, easily gets gold, maybe even platinum, right? Those things alone could carry you to platinum. Those are like basic mechanics. That's what I would focus on for this player. You could get more intense. You could be like, there's game sense and like this is the stuff going on in this position and stuff like that. But I think that like just for these like first 10 seconds of this round, there's so much that we could comment on, and that's what I would focus on, those three things. So that was our beginner player right there, right? That's another thing to comment on right here. That's a good thing to point out in the chat. If you have an issue with understanding like how your accuracy is affected with your movement and stuff, what you could do is you could go to your crosshair settings. And you could go to movement error right here. You could turn this on. I wouldn't do it for your inner lines, but do it for your outer lines, right? This is a really good way to like train counter strafing and stuff like that too. But we'll talk about that in the next video. And once you turn this guy on and you turn on the outer lines, notice how whenever I move, that's going to be moving like that. This will tell you when your crosshair is like, or your aim is like terrible. If I'm moving, if my crosshair looks like that, my aim is going to be awful. Notice like that. And then when I stop moving, it'll come in, and that means that I will be accurate, right? So if you just focus on that, I think that'll be very helpful to you. So that was our beginner game. We're going to be talking about our intermediate game now, okay? I think there's a lot of differences that sets this player apart from the previous player. This player seems like he has a basic understanding for like the game and how the guns function and everything. And like he seems like he's relatively confident in his aim. So I think that's something that definitely sets him apart from the previous one. And when we're going through this, I'm gonna point out the things that I would say that this player probably needs to improve on, because he does have a basic understanding of the game, right? There's already problems that I have with this clip, and if you follow my channel for a while, then you'll understand exactly where I'm gonna go with this. But he's going for the trade right here. Notice how he keeps repeaking this. Not necessarily the best decision, but he's not gonna get incredibly punished for it in this situation. And then he'll end up backing up here. He goes for the jump peek right here. And we were just talking about peaks in chat, when to jiggle and when to full swing, and like different types of peaks and stuff like that. I think we've seen pretty much every type of peak right now. So it's an interesting array of skill right there. He's gonna get the pick right there with using ADS. We're gonna talk about ADS, I think, in this replay as well. Gonna hold down this angle for a little bit, and he's actually gonna back up. And this player is gonna get another kill on this flanking character. Notice how he has a decent amount of game sets. He seems to have some sort of understanding of where the enemies are and how he can use his skills to his advantage. That was a weird phrase. I don't know how I came to those words, but I did. Notice his team's pushing over here to A. He thinks that he has to rotate over there. Probably a good call. He has the Cypher alone on A with the bomb. He wants to come help out his buddy over here. He's gonna rotate over here. He's gonna help this guy out, and he actually ends up getting a 4K. Notice this player's killed right there. He goes for a cool smoke. Gets the kill onto Cat, just barely, and is able to get the kill onto the Omen over there in a tree. Not the most perfect round, but he did get a 4K right here, so that's pretty awesome, right? And he does end up winning the round. And you're gonna think, well, King, a lot of the times when I do these replays, I like to comment on things that like they get punished for, or the things that they end up like losing rounds because of. In this situation, we're gonna just talk about some little things that he does over here in Cat that look a little interesting, and just like different things right now. The thing I was gonna comment on is that this player is about to peek middle with a Phantom. This is like, so when people ask Phantom versus Vandal, the Phantom is better in pretty much every single way except for this specific situation where he's going to be peeking a guy from this far away with a Phantom. And if this player has a Vandal, that player is going to have the upper hand because the Phantom is going to take 2 hits to the head to kill this player. The Vandal is just going to take 1. So peeking this with a Phantom is not a very good idea. That being said, it's not too much of a difference. The reason that I really wouldn't peek this though, or like at all, is because they were on a buy round, it looks like, and unless I can't confirm if they could have afforded an op or not. Maybe we give the player the benefit of the doubt and say that they couldn't have afforded an op. If the player could have afforded an op, this is a bad angle to peek. I would never peek middle, dry, not using any utility, and just going for this peek right here. When he does go for this peek, he ends up full peeking the Omen, like I said, and he doesn't actually shoot right away. He kind of peeks him like this and then stares at him and then comes back, right? Which is a weird peek for him to do. When he goes for that, he could have counter-strafed and his bullets would have been straight. He might have been able to land the trade on the Omen. I think his crosshair is close, right? It would have been a close shot in this situation, right? He goes for the kill right there. It looks like he's aiming a little bit high, but had his crosshair been on the head, maybe he's able to adjust to that. That would have been an easy kill right there, right? He just, all he needs to do, he strafes to the left, and then when you're at like the peak of your strafe or whenever you're ready to shoot, you just go back the other direction. You cancel your movement, and that's gonna make your bullet go straight, right? This is something you could practice. We did a counter strafing talk recently. I'm gonna try to upload it to YouTube relatively soon. But if you guys haven't seen that, or you don't know exactly what counter strafing is, basically it's the idea that your character has momentum. And when you're moving, your accuracy is going to be like this, but you can shift your momentum in the other direction, and it'll make you accurate for a second, right? So you can fire bullets like that, and they'll go straight generally. Whereas like if you're just like moving around like this, it's going to be all over the place. So that's basically the mechanic. Sorry. This player understands this mechanic, and you'll see he goes for this peek again. After he unpeaks, he's going to try to do it. He goes for it, but you see it's a little bit off. This is something that he probably needs to practice, like just a little bit. He needs to work on it. He understands what it is, but he hasn't practiced it enough. So he tries to replicate it in a real game, and his aim ends up going all over the place. And this is something that definitely requires practice because it's kind of, the timing is kind of difficult, right? So like when he goes for this peek, if he times it poorly, his bullet ends up going like way to the left or way to the right, and it could just be kind of it can be kind of wonky. And when he goes for this peek, he's re-peeking so many times at this point in time. After maybe like peeking this the second time and not getting the kill, he probably should have backed up here, right? He's kind of trying to force it. He's trying to force this kill, and he's trying to like make up for the fact that he didn't get the kill the first time. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's probably not a good idea. This is probably gonna end up getting him killed. He does realize this after a second. He goes for the jump peek right here. This jump peek can be effective to see if the player is there, but he already kind of knows the player's there, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Sometimes you'll do the jump peek at the beginning to see if somebody's opping it, and if they are opping it, they won't see you. And he goes for it once, doesn't see the player, and then he goes for it again and goes like way out there, and it's like, dude, you're gonna get yourself killed doing this kind of stuff. Just like back up, take the L, just back up, and this is what he does. He goes over to the spawn. Probably a good call. Comes over here into spawn because he does have decent game sense, like we talked about. He knows that this player gets killed right here, so he knows that he has to adjust to this. He sees the player in the spawn. He knows that they're close. Comes over here. He's going to ADS in this situation. And ADSing, people have mixed feelings on it. A lot of players don't think that ADSing is like a good thing to do. They say that it affects their accuracy and stuff. In this situation, his job is to get a headshot on this player, right? He's not going to go for a full spray down on them. Maybe you could argue that so if you don't know the benefits of ADSing, basically when you ADS, it's going to slow your fire rate, but it's also going to tighten the spray, right? So if I do a full clip like this, it's going to go like that. Whereas if I do like a full clip like this, it's going to go like that. You notice how that's a lot tighter? That's a lot easier to control. The fire rate's also a lot slower. So for me to control a spray like this, might be a little bit easier for the player. For me to control a spray like this is probably something that you want to practice. It should probably be about the same, right? But that also being said, it's also going to enlarge your target, like just a little bit. I think it goes like 1.25 or something like that. As like the magnifier. So if you're just aiming for headshots, this isn't a terrible range to do it at. I wouldn't recommend ADSing at the range where you encounter this player over here. This probably would have been really dumb for him to do, but he doesn't do that, right? He goes for this kill by just hip firing it. So hip fire is generally going to be better, and you'll see a lot of pro players don't ADS at all. I don't think ADSing is the worst thing for the player to do in the world. I don't think it's terrible. Now, what we're discussing right now, these are more intermediate tactics, right? The last player that we focused on, we literally said things like use your abilities and don't move and shoot. This player should probably focus on like the counter strafing mechanics just a little bit more. Maybe focus on like his peaks and everything. Maybe focus on not re-peaking. That's probably like he probably peaked just a little bit too much there. Probably focus on the engagements that he takes. He probably shouldn't take this angle or this engagement with the Phantom regardless. Maybe focus on like the things that he dry peaks. Like that, the dry peaking probably wasn't a good decision for him right there. But he is beyond just the basics of the game, right? This is something that I would probably focus on if you're looking to get like from gold to platinum to diamond or something like that, right? The last player, he was a silver player. If he wants to get out of silver, I would probably focus on the more basic things. For this player, these will probably be the things that he should probably focus on to get out of gold or platinum. Dry peak. Dry peaking so dry peaking refers to peaking an angle without using any utility. You'll see how this player kind of he dry peaked mid. There wasn't a smoke or anything down for this guy. He just he decided to like swing out here. Didn't see anything, or he did see the omen. But like, say for example, he doesn't know what's right here. He doesn't have information on that. He peeks out this angle. Say there's an operator right there. He just loses this straight up. He's gonna get destroyed. So if you're looking to practice your counter strafing, this is how I'm doing it. Like I said, this is something that I struggle with. This is something I'm not very good at, and this is how I'm improving at it. Right. So we'll do the start. I have it on spawn 100. This is basically what I do. And from that, I'll come into this corner or whatever, and I'll just practice like doing my little peeks like this, right? Just trying to get my accurate shot in my strafes. And I'm getting better at it day by day, right? But you'll notice that that bullet went way over there. That time I was off, right? You just got to get better at it. You just got to get better at doing this. And like when you're doing this too, you can do it with a sheriff. Sheriff is a good gun to do it with. You can like practice your kind of flicks while you do this. People kind of know about this strategy already. It's not really strategy, I guess, like for practicing with it. You can drop the wall, and if you're gonna like peek around the corner, you could try to like get better at it this way, right? I'm trash apparently. Oh gosh, I'm actually horseshit. Okay, there we go. Finally got him. Peek around this corner, right there. There's a good one. Nice. Okay. What we're gonna talk about now, we're gonna go into the last player. This guy he's a very strong player. He's probably a better player than me, at least mechanically. And he was playing scrims. So scrims are going to be different than your matchmaking. Basically, in a scrim, you're going to be going against players who they kind of understand what they're doing. They're running actual strats, where like a lot of the times in matchmaking, you'll just kind of like push things and like hope that it works out, right? In this player's scrims, the players that he's playing against, he's doing pretty well on defense, honestly. It's 6-1 right now, you'll notice. Like, this game's going pretty well. And it's going to start taking a turn for the worse once they switch to offense. And I'm going to comment on a defensive thing that I noticed for this player to improve upon, maybe with his team and stuff. It looks like they had 2 subs, so I don't know exactly how serious the team is right now. But I'm going to comment on something for the defense to improve upon, and then I'll go into the offense. And the reason I'm doing this is because even though they did well on defensive side, you can always do better, right? And they ended up getting too comfortable. It looks like they got ahead, and they were like, oh, this is awesome. And they ended up making a lot of mistakes. And you'll notice this player will do... he'll do like really weird things, like he'll use his satchels for rotations and stuff, and those can be very effective for like the actual retake, you know? Like maybe he gets there on the rotation faster when he's using these satchels, but there are times where he goes for the rotate, uses 2 satchels to get there, and then realizes they're pushing B and has to rotate all the way back, and now he doesn't have satchels, you know? It's just like, it's really interesting perspective to see. So this player is a very strong player. He's going to be peeking here long with the op. There's no problem with this. His aim is actually very good. This first peek right here, he's going to go for the jump peek. That's not a terrible tactic. They actually can't be there at this point in time anyway, so when he jump peeks this, it's not that big of a deal. They can't really beat him there unless they're playing Jet and they like dash across. It's just probably not going to happen. So he goes for the jump peek right there. Lands the kill onto the brimstone. This is a hard angle to peek for the reason that they could appear like anywhere. They could appear low, they could appear high. So a very good kill by him. And now he's going to shoot his bomb buddy along. He sees the brim. He's going to bomb buddy it just to see if they're like full pushing him. Not a terrible move. And he goes for the repeak. Repeak's a little aggressive, but I actually like it. And he ends up getting the second pick right there. And now he's going to back up. Look how he uses his nade to stop people from pushing into him. This is good. Turning his back, they probably could have full pushed him right there. He did see people pretty close, so maybe that was a risky move, but he doesn't get punished for it, so it's not really too big of a deal. And he's gonna hold this angle. After getting that double kill, they don't want to push into him. They're kind of scared. They lost another player. They just used the sage res and stuff. They're gonna take it kind of slow.
I'll watch tower.
I think they're peeling.
I'm just gonna go back.
I'm gonna go for an aggressive pick here. It's probably gonna get me killed.
And he's going for a repeak right here. He calms it to his team, which is actually really nice. Notice how, like, these are things that you should communicate. Like, hey, I'm going to do something that might be kind of stupid. Yeah. He gets the peek. He notices. This is a lot of good information. He sees that nobody's long right here. And he makes the call to his team that they're probably pushing A. This isn't a terrible call. Like, the likelihood that they're going to push A in this situation, nobody's long. They backed out along. They don't see anything A right now. But, like, they definitely could be pushing A. He makes this call. And they're going to do a full rotate. That's the problem that I would have with this clip. Once he goes for the full rotate right here, he turns around, he sees them hookah. He's going to end up getting picked off. He goes for the shot there. Unfortunately, it doesn't land it, and he gets killed right here. The Cypher probably could have rotated in this situation. Like, he didn't see anything, right? Like, that easily makes sense to be like, hey, yeah, I don't see anything here. There's nothing long. Maybe you want to rotate. Maybe you want to go towards A Cypher. Yeah, okay, that's an okay call. For him to rotate as well, though, is a little bit of an aggressive move, especially in these scrims. So a lot of times in matchmaking, when people rotate, it's very telegraphed. It's like, okay, well, they're pushing A. You know, there's 5 of them here. You know, this is the push that they're going for. But in these scrims, this is why a lot of times you'll see these professional teams, they'll leave one player on the site because they run different strats, right? They go for different smokes. They try to bait out utility and stuff like that. They'll be playing like a default where they're all over the place and stuff. The full rotate here was a little aggressive, and this is something that I noticed within this player's play a lot, is that he would go for a full rotate, or he would want to be to the site as quickly as possible. Whenever he would hear something on A, he would try to get over to A like as fast as possible, right? And it ended up being to his detriment, as they ended up being 8-4, I think, by halftime, which isn't bad. Like, people would be like, 8-4, that's not terrible, right? 8-4 is like pretty decent. But it could have been 10-2. It could have maybe even been 11-1, right? The team wasn't playing very incredible on offense, and like just getting picked off here once or twice can really be of detriment, right? And 8-2 or 8-4, like we said, not bad, but it is going to be bad when they get to offense and they literally can't win a single round. They only end up taking 1 round on offense, and that's for a couple reasons that we're gonna go for. We're gonna go over. I just wanted to comment on the defense thing though, because you should never get too comfortable in these games. 6-1, that's a good score, right? You think that you're doing really well. You could easily throw this game easily, and it ends up happening. So we're gonna go into this player's offense. I didn't write down like very specific rounds to comment on. Basically, I'll give you the TLDR. They only ended up winning 1 round on offense, and I think that a lot of the reason for this would be because they didn't really set up much of a default for any of their rounds. And this kind of brings me back to the matchmaking point. It's a lot more difficult to do in matchmaking to get like a ton of players to work together. But basically what you're going to run into when you set up a default, if you don't know what a default is, basically it's like the idea of like doing the same thing every single round, or like doing like having like similar tendencies, so the players don't get too comfortable when you do something different, right? Like if Brimstone goes over to, or if they're all B, or like if it feels like they're getting a lot of info on B and they've never faked a site throughout the game, or they've never been like showing presence anywhere else, obviously you're gonna think it's a full B push, right? You kind of have to condition these players to be like, oh shit, they've done this before. Oh maybe they're like pushing here and stuff like that. And I'm gonna show you the only round that they actually ended up winning on the offense, and comments about like one of the reasons that they might have actually won this round versus like the differences between their other rounds, right? So we're going to go into this. This is our hero right here. He's going to be pushing over here through hookah. Yeah. And he's actually going to see the Cypher tripwire. He tries to walk through it. I don't think that he crouched under it. I think he just tried to walk through it. Had he crouched, he easily could have gone through this, but he just tries to walk through it and he runs into it. You might think that this is like an unsuccessful lurk. Like he runs into the tripwire. It's like, oh crap, dude, that sucks. And then he's going to run back over here towards A. I would argue that this is probably more effective than it looks like. Because what's going to happen right now is they have pushed the same site every single time, pretty much as 5. And now you just run into this tripwire over on B, and they're getting mixed information right now. They're showing their first presence right now on A, and they're getting, hey, there's people on A. He just ran into a tripwire on B. This Cypher's thinking, okay, well, somebody's on B. They're telling me that somebody's A, but I see that somebody's on B right now. Or it was like pushing B. He's going to rotate back. This Cypher's probably going to be just a little bit late on his rotation to A. You see this Brimstone smokes come down, and they're now pushing A. They're going to actually end up taking the site, and they're going to actually end up taking this round. Barely, but they do end up taking the round. And this is the difference from a lot of other rounds that they played throughout this game, where they just try to full push things, and they'll actually run into a problem where I think I can't remember this guy's name. It's Yoko, I think. He is like the team's opper. And this is another thing that you'll run into. When you're the duelist and you are the opper for your team, a lot of the times your team has trouble entering sites. I've noticed this at least in my matchmaking games. I don't know if this is 100% consistent, or maybe it's just like a lack of coordination between the teams themselves. But when your duelist is like, that's the person who has the utility that's supposed to help you get onto the site, right? You can drop smokes and stuff like that. But when if you have a jet, for example, who's opping, that means that she's not going to be the first one dashing onto site every single time. And if you can't get that first pick, it's going to be very difficult to like open up yourself to that round. So we're going to go right here. I can't remember exactly what round it is. So we were just talking about playing a default and just not being too predictable as an offense. You'll notice what they try to do right here is they're going to try to execute a B site push. And he's going to be the one opping right now as the raise. And he's going to come up here for this push. And although this is a really, this is a team of solid players. Like these guys are all pretty good. They're going to go for this push here. And they're just not going to be able to make any entry on the site. You'll notice the Cypher utility comes out. There's the cage right there. It's going to be Sova ulti. It looks like he's probably using it into hookah. Now his team's backing off of hookah. They kind of back off a little bit right here, but they're still showing presence, right? They're still here. They're asking if they want to go A, but the problem is they haven't really done anything. They don't know if they're pushing up flank. They don't know exactly what's going on over here. They've got a no utility out of A. They've already gotten the Cypher traps out of here. The rotates have probably coming in by this point. It takes about 10 seconds to rotate through spawn, like 10 to 13, I think it is. And it's just like, at this point in time, they're still chilling here. Cypher goes for the peek. He sees them long. Okay, they're still here.
149. Cypher's literally
Okay.
1 HP.
Sees the bomb right there. They're still trying to execute this B push, but it's like, it's just not happening at this point in time. They know that they're all here, right? They know that all the players are here. This is going to be very difficult for them to push in at this point in time. And it's just going to end up resulting in them just dying right here, right? They didn't make any moves this round. They didn't make any progress. They didn't push into sight at all. I don't know if the brimstone smokes came down and they just weren't able to capitalize on them. It's just really rough when you have these situations where everyone's just waiting for something to happen and you don't get to pick with the operator, so just nothing ends up happening and you guys get wiped. So I think that what I would definitely recommend to these players, maybe run a little bit more of a default, maybe try to get a little bit more information out or utility out from the players, maybe like run those lurks and stuff like that. But also, it's going to be very difficult to engage when they have the Raze opping right there. Although he's not a bad opper, Yoko's not a bad opper at all. Generally, this is you'll see it like a Sova player will op pretty frequently. I think the reasoning for this is that when you don't have your duelist as the operator, like the main op for the team, you can actually have them entrying, right? They can be doing that tactic. And that's what I think will work a little bit better for them in this situation. Although, or maybe they could switch roles. Maybe Yoko could become like the Sova or like the Jet or something, and they can have a Phoenix on their team. Maybe that would be really helpful as well. Those are like a little bit more advanced things though, right? Like it's not basic mechanics that these characters or that these players are struggling with. These players are all incredible. They're very good players. But it's just the struggle with like the teamwork and like how they could possibly get onto site that they really struggle with on this half, and they're gonna end up losing this match 13-9. Unfortunate, but that's all I had to say, dude. I hope that like that gives people some sort of insight on like what they can possibly work on. Like if you feel like your mechanics are like solid, focus on like your teamwork mechanics. Like how do you lead a team? Are you able to like pick apart a defense and figure out like what your problem is playing against them? Are you able to like bring your team back from like a loss and stuff like that? I would focus more on those things. That would be my recommendation. But if you guys are watching this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel down below. Follow us on Twitch, and yeah. Also check out our merch, dude. We have so much awesome merch right now. We have it all uploaded. It should be a merch a bench or whatever they call it, a shelf in the description below, so you guys can check that out.